Hello, welcome to StreoPixel. In this video, we are going to discuss about the different light shape Arnold lights in 3ds Max have. So, before we start explaining the different light shape and the different parameters or the properties of the shapes of the light, I would like to tell you a few tips which I usually use while creating any lighting scene in 3ds Max. So, first of all, what you have to do is go to the render setup. And I'm going to use the active shade mode, which is very powerful in while if you are using the Arnold lights and Arnold setup. So, and active shade mode, you can get it from here. Usually by default this is the render setup, render options, render window, but I would like to change it for the active shade, because this will give you a real-time update of your light changes and all. Now in the render setup, I'd like to change the render to Arnold, which is not by default, and also the target, because by default the target is the production rendering mode. Just change it to the active shade mode. And also you need to change your view to render to perspective, and you have to lock this one. The reason of this making it lock is whichever viewport I select, it will immediately update the render view over here. So though I always like to view the final render from the perspective itself or the camera view, but whenever I go to other viewports to select the objects, which is sometimes very difficult in the perspective or the camera view, it will get updated immediately in the render view also. So I would like to avoid that particular thing. So what I need to do is we have to select the perspective, what for perspective, view to render, or any camera view if you have, and just select that and just lock it. So what will happen is, whenever you are selecting the other objects like this, when we select the light from front viewport or the top or anywhere else, the active shade window never get updated. It's been locked from here. So this is something which you need to set up, and this can actually help you out a lot while working in the production environment. Okay, so so if you select a light and go to the modify panel, and there you can see there's an option called shape, and there are a lot of options are out there in the shape option of Arnold light. Now here a bunch of different shapes are out there, which we are going to discuss one by one, and by default it generally comes out as a quad one. And so I'll just start with the quad one, and you can see there's this option called spreadness of the light. Now before the spreading the light, you can decrease the amount of the light spreadness by, it's very self-explanatory, as that you want to spread your light completely 180 degree, or you want to concentrate on a specific area that you can control from the spread value. Now it also appears that whenever you are reducing the spread value, it will definitely going to affect the environment also. So you have to be very careful about that. So any value, any parameter named the spread, is actually doing the same thing in all the Arnold lights, that you have to remember. So all these parameters, some parameters you will see that we'll see on different lights, that is, those parameters also actually act similarly. So okay, next the size from X and Y axis. Now this is really interesting one, and also very important, because this has a very big connection with the amount of energy the light is actually emitting. But if you don't see any changes in your light intensity by changing the size of your light shape, that means that your normalized energy is turned on. Now this is something really important, that if you have to take this call in a case by case basis, that whether you want to use the normalized energy or not. Usually it's actually, you know, actually happen that if we are actually increasing the lights too much, you can see though the intensity of the light, sorry, I have actually increased the value of one axis quite huge. Great. Now what you see is it's actually affecting the sharpness of the shadow, or if you don't want to, you know, control your intensity by the size, then definitely this is going to help you out while using, or while, you know, soften your shadows from here. So this is something really interesting parameter that you have. However, if you turn off this normalized energy, this is going to use your as an intensity also. You can see if I reduce the amount of light, reduce the amount of the quad, you can use it very specifically for the light intensity. So this is something which you have to take the call while working in a particular scene. So by default, I would suggest you to, you know, use the normalized energy and playing with the intensity rather than playing turning off the normalized energy and you know, rather than normalize energy and using the quad X and Y values. So great. Now for the roundness, I don't think this is the right light to you know, explain the roundness of that. This is actually it's very difficult to, you know, explain in this particular light. If you increase, you won't see any specific differences in the light. So right now I'm not going to use this one for this particular. Okay, so next we can go straight to the top one, that is a point light. Now point light is pretty much self-explanatory light, like the Omni that we have in basic light of in 3ds Max. So it's also the same thing, and but if you can use it as a spherical light also, if you increase the, you know, the radius of the light, you can immediately see you can change your shadow into a softer one rather than a higher sharpness while you are actually decreasing your radius. So this is something really interesting. You can create something, some light which is an omnidirectional light, but yet you can have a harder or softer shadow. So this comes very handy sometimes in you know, in lighting a particular scene. Okay, so now next is the distant light. I actually going to explain in the other video, because distant light and the sky dome will come together, because this is really connected. I mean, these both of them are actually can be used in an environment lighting sort of thing. This is nothing specific, but I would like to give it a shot on a different video. Okay, now go back to the spotlight. Now spotlight is almost a kind of a similar one which we have in 3ds Max. Now by default, the radius of the spotlight is actually I would not going to use that much, because that is not going to be an effective I mean, that not going to be a very visible effect on your lighting. But the other options like cone angles and penumbra angle are the most important one, which we have in basic Max lights also. So if you increase the cone angle, it will increase the overall light area. And also the penumbra angle, if you increase, you can see that the softness of that particular light can be easily visible inside that particular light. Now here I would here you can increase the light radius, and you can actually again made the similar kind of effect in the shadow. So what is actually happening over here on every time if you hit the radius of any light parameter is, you can see, you can just try to concentrate in this specular area where the light is getting reflected from this particular surface, and you will understand what is the use of it. And also you can see the sharpness of the sharpness of the edge of the shadow, which is really going to change. If you decrease the light, you can see immediately you're getting a way more harder and perfect shape of shadow. Whereas if I increase it, and as well as the area of that particular shape is been reduced as I reduce the radius of this particular light, and if we increase, you can see the specular, the intensity got been reduced, and the area of that particular light has been increased, the emission area, and significantly the shadow has been smoothed out. Now this is something really you have to understand, and how much you want to increase your radius and decrease your radius is absolutely you have to be very careful about it, because if you want a sharper light, then you might have to increase the intensity over here rather than increasing the light, the radius of the light. So this can be very tricky. Anyway, let's move on. And so aspect ratio is something like that, where we cannot have a perfect circle or something like that. I mean, this is something will be, yeah, it's a parabolic kind of effect. You want to create elongated circular or parabolic shape of light, you can have that one by aspect ratio. Same as if I decrease the roundness, you can see the light shape hasn't been actually a circular anymore. It's been squared out. So what I can do is I can actually project it on the screen. Yeah, now you can see. So what you can do is, in the roundness, if you decrease it to 0, the outer line has been actually become rectangular rather than a circle. So if you increase it, now the outer light is actually been converted into a circle. So roundness is something which actually help us into this particular light, which is this particular light shape, which is spotlight. Great. Now okay, now there is one more thing called lens radius. I'm not 100% sure, though it's been, if you increase it after certain value, you can see that your light has been actually been hit a particular limit where it will hit a particular limit where it stop expanding. I mean, but why I really cannot say any practical example of this or give you a practical example of this, but it's like that if you put up a lens in front of a emitting light, which actually can dilute the light energy. I think this is something. Though if you go to the pop-up lens, it's been said that when set to 0, the vertex of the spotlight cone coincides with the light's specific position. If non-zero, the cone becomes truncated, and the light is assumed to come from a virtual position that falls behind the light's specific position. So what is happening over here? This simulates the effects of a real-world luminaries that bundle together a light bulb and a parabolic reflector. So you can see there is a sort of a dog cone kind of shape which has been hanged with a light bulb, which is actually, you know, try to restrict the light source from emitting beyond a certain area. So this is kind of that is the kind of effect that we can achieve through the lens radius. I mean, which I actually understood. Okay, I know it's very hard to explain like this. Now you can see this is a similar kind of an object where the bulb is actually not exactly emitting from this point, so it has been actually put up away a little behind the entire fixture. So this is the kind of, and you can see you know, the light will actually going to restrict to emit from this beyond this particular area. So this is the kind of structure that we are actually talking about for the lens radius. Anyway, okay, so I'm in fact, just let me fix this up a little bit. Yeah, maybe. Okay, fine. So after that, we have already done the quad. Now let's suppose come to the disc. Now disc is almost kind of a self-explanatory. If you increase the radius, again, you will actually lose the shadow sharpness. So this is the same thing which is happening for the other ones, and similar kind of effect can be achieved you know, by focusing the light on a particular very specific area. This is something which I really love for using it for the product modeling or product presentation. Now you can see that's the immediately it actually concentrate on a certain area of that particular platform, and yet you can achieve a either sharp edged shadow or maybe a particular or a very soft edge shadow by reducing the, you know, radius and working with the spread value also. So this is something which is done. And now cylinder. Now this is something really interesting one I found, that this is, now you can see there's a square kind of a look, but you actually can increase the height of that cylinder, which is having only two parameters. One is radius and one is height. Now you can increase the height or you can decrease this one, and if you simultaneously work in your intensity, like say 250, and you can have a very rectangular kind of an effect from this particular light, which sometimes work like really great for cheating up you know, your incandescence bar lights and all. So, and as well as you can use this for a very different reason, like any light coming from a rectangular window or whatever it is. And in fact, if you rotate this one for unrealistic lighting or something like that for presentation, you actually can use this very, very creatively. This is something I really love to explore, and you know, to use it in a very innovative way possible in product lighting, or even any kind of a non-photorealistic presentation of scenes. So yeah, cylinder is done. Fine, great. So I'm going to conclude this particular video with these different options, and I hope you enjoy this. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and uh, follow us in Facebook and Twitter. Thank you very much.